When President Yanukovych escaped to Russia, everybody thought that they had won the battle of getting rid of a corrupt government. But unfortunately, very soon after that, Putin invaded Crimea and he invaded sovereign territory of Ukraine. And this has changed totally. It has changed the whole outlook of Europe. It's changed the whole outlook of Ukraine now. It's obvious that Putin was planning this for a long time, possibly even many years. What his ultimate plan is, nobody knows. There's lots of theories about that he wants to divide Ukraine, whatever. I'm sure it's all of these. But he is facing his own problems in Russia, and maybe he's even diverting attention from his own problems internally. Unfortunately, with Europe being so financially tied to Russia right now, very little is happening. Lots of nice words, lots of support, but in actual fact, very little is happening. And there's a growing danger, day by day, as tensions are increasing, that actual war will break out between Ukraine and Russia. I think the Ukrainians are very aware that they'll receive no help, although America right now is making very strong noises that they will use force. They brought in ships into the Black Sea. They're bringing in airplanes into Poland, into the Baltics. But all this is doing is rising tensions. And Putin is in no mood to back off. He doesn't want to negotiate. He's not allowing any observers into Crimea, even though they can move very freely anywhere else in Ukraine. But the Crimea is totally a no-go area for international observers, which is very, very worrying for the Ukrainian people, and it's very worrying for Europe. Because if war does break out in Ukraine, it could be the beginning of something much, much larger. In Crimea, the situation is very tense because the small minority that are actually working with Putin, they're very loud, they're demonstrating everywhere, etc. There are troops on the ground that are intimidating people. But despite the intimidation, there are many people, especially women and children, are coming out on the streets. And they're they're all Russian speakers, but Russian women, Ukrainian women, Tatars, they're not happy with the Russian invasion. But people are actually demonstrating. But the minute they come out to demonstrate, Putin's supporters are coming out. They're basically thugs. They're beating up people. They're kidnapping people. Today, 5 people were kidnapped. They've disappeared. So the rule of terror is beginning to take hold in Crimea. All the television stations from mainland Ukraine have been cut. The people there are in an information vacuum. They don't know what's going on. The only television that they have now and radio is directly from Russia, what Russia is feeding them. In Crimea, another problem is that there are Ukrainian troops there that aren't firing at the Russians, but they are sitting there. They're not giving up. They're not being aggressive. But one unit after another is being taken over. And today the Russians have actually taken over rockets, anti-aircraft rocket positions. Because the Ukrainian soldiers obviously have been told by central government not to show any aggression. Everybody's trying to avoid war, and especially the West, to give diplomacy a chance. But diplomacy is running up against a brick wall at the moment. I think the Ukrainian people in the UK are more united than they ever were, but not only in the UK, in Ukraine. I can see how the people have united. Russian speakers, Jewish people, Tatars, Muslims, they're all uniting because they consider Ukraine their own country. I know that a war would be terrible, but I do know this for sure, that if diplomacy does not solve this problem, Ukraine will go to war because they will defend their territory. Ukraine has been subjugated for so many years. The 20th century, Ukraine lost 20 million people at the hands of the Soviet Union, which was a Russian occupation as well. Even though they called it the Soviet Union, it was still a Russian occupation. They are not going to risk another occupation by Russia. They will fight to the last man, possibly, because they have nothing to lose at this point.